Hey, also here's a quick rig overview video where I'll go over the various components that I'm using currently with my sim rig setup and talk about some of the components and provide some opinions and whatnot on what I might potentially do differently on how this is set up. So first of all, this is a 80/20 rig that I designed initially in SketchUp, which is a 3D modeling program that's free to use, so I could go in and kind of experiment with some ideas there, get all the measurements, and then order the profile that I was going to use. Most of it had to be cut, so I just bought a chop saw and a suitable blade for that and cut them to length and pieced it all together. Real fun experience. I definitely recommend doing it for anyone who's interested in building a rig. 80/20 is definitely the way to go if you want some modularity, if you want to be able to adjust things how you'd like and maybe add components here or there, and it gives you a lot of flexibility in being able to mount things where you'd like them and also move them around. And of course, if you're using different hardware or upgrading hardware in the future, it also makes it easy to swap out every bit of hardware that you're using with something else, because it's very easy to bolt things up. So I originally designed this as a setup that I could also kind of use as a desktop kind of workstation. So the keyboard tray that I'm using is, what I went with was an Obutto keyboard tray. And you can see down here, the tray mounts very easily. You just put a couple T-nuts there in the slot and get some bolts that are the right length and bolt them right on. And very easy to do. It's very sturdy, very adjustable as far as the height of it. And you kind of want to get it so that the keyboard tray kind of comes over to your lap. And the way that I've adjusted the height is so that it'll also cross over and actually rest on the arm that I have going over to my mouse pad. So it gives me a nice sturdy kind of desktop, and so it works pretty well for it. One issue is that it's probably not the most perfectly ergonomical position. If you want to be in a seated, desk working position, you really need to be a little bit more upright. And so one improvement that could be made there would be to have a seat that you could use to, adjust the overall tilt that the seat sits at. I think I've got about a 12 to 15 degree or so angle with the way that I've got the seat mounted, tilting backward, which works great for sim racing, but in kind of a seated working position, it really is tilted back a little bit too much for ergonomics, but it works pretty well otherwise. Basically, you can see that this will slide over and slide it over here. It basically will just rest. Sorry about the camera work. It'll basically just rest there, pretty sturdy, and makes it real easy to work with. So let me just kind of move that out of the way. Of course, it's very easy to slide and move that around anywhere you need it. So that's a great component for anyone who's using 80/20. The Obutto keyboard tray is great for that. Let me come around the back here. So we have a separate monitor stand. That's another thing I would potentially do differently, not only to save costs, get a little bit simpler, cleaner look, but the monitor stand is completely separate. It's a separate piece that can move independently of the rest of the rig, and that's kind of nice for a number of reasons. It makes it easy to kind of slide it forward and back, and also prevents any vibrations or shaking from the transducer for SimVibe, as well as the OSW motor, causing any kind of shaking or vibration to the monitors. However, I think that this thing turned out so solid that I could have definitely gotten away with just mounting the monitor stand directly to the side pieces that kind of come up to where the motor is mounted, and save some costs in profile and give it a cleaner look that way. But I'm still happy with the end result there. I think that came out really well. So when I first started building this, it was about the same time that I was looking at ordering the OSW wheel. So I was thinking of something that I could mount it to that would be nice and sturdy. And I used to race just sitting at this desk over here, and just using let me come over here. This is my old setup. This is my old Fanatec wheel and pedals that I started with. Got those set up for my son's computer in case he wants to use those. So that's my backup hardware. You should always have a backup. And I'll talk about some of the other things that I recommend getting backups for. But basically the idea was that I wanted to be able to make things adjustable, to be able to kind of move things up or down or forward or back. Same thing with pedals and the seat. And so I've kind of got channels and places where I can move the pedals. These whole side pieces will go up or down, and of course the pedals could be mounted and come forward or back. I've got them back as far as you can go using the very last slot there, and so I kind of cut that close there. I'd probably extend the back of this a little bit to give myself even more adjustment in the way that that I can move those around. But I love having the inverted pedals. I definitely recommend going that route. These are the Proto Simtech PT1s, and they're phenomenal. I don't have any complaints with them. The brake pedal is very sturdy and solid. What I've actually done is I've gotten the optional pedal faces for the clutch and the throttle, and then I've actually taken the old faces for those and stacked them behind the big wide face plate for the brake pedal to give it kind of a nice, it's got a nice meaty feel to it, a lot of weight, heavy weight to it. Just feels great, I think. And then it also kind of helps raise that pedal a little bit further up, a little closer, helps a little bit with hill toe. Because there's not a lot of forward back adjustability in the way that these are mounted, unless I got a separate aluminum plate with slots, where I can move them independently forward and back. But the way I've got that set up, I think works out really well. But this allows me to kind of adjust the tilt of the pedals as well as the height of them and get them right where I want them. And of course, they can be independently moved apart as far as how close you like them, together or apart from each other. Okay, so moving on to let's talk about the seat a little bit. This is an OMP seat. If I had it to do it again, I don't know that I'd buy the same seat. It's a good seat. I got a good deal on it. I think I only ended up paying around $250 for it. I don't know the model off the top of my head. Anything that I'm showing here, if anyone's interested in any part numbers or links or whatever, I can pull those up and find it, but I won't itemize everything. It's pretty easy to pull things up if needed though. But the OMP seat is a nice seat. It's very comfortable. I don't get any sort of back pain or anything, fatigue sitting in it a long time. It's pretty comfortable. There is a little bit of play in the seat itself because it's not a fixed back seat. It's an adjustable back seat, and I typically just keep it always in the same place, but I could swear that periodically it maybe slowly loses its adjustment and maybe comes backward a little bit. So maybe I can adjust the tension on that a little to prevent that. I don't know. But you can see that there's a little bit of play here. And of course, when you're sitting in the seat, it's solid. It's fine. You're not shifting forward or back or anything like that. But I would just like it to be a little bit more solid. Just would feel better that way, I think. And like I say, I don't need to do a really adjust it. But maybe for the desk configuration, it could help getting a little bit more upright. I don't know. One other option that I would consider is getting a seat that has power adjustment, something that's salvaged from a vehicle. That you could wire it up to a battery and get power adjustments for power forward and back and tilt and up and down. Would make it great, especially for anyone that wants to share their rig with others to get in and try it out, which I like to have people come over and try it out, friends and family. I have 2 sons that'll use it. What I typically do is it has sliders, and I'll just slide it all the way forward for my sons, for my youngest son especially to use, and maybe put pillows behind him. But they don't use it often, and so it's fine as is. But I really wanted it to be adjustable so that I could move things around if I needed to, and or if I swapped out any of the hardware, seat, pedals, wheel, anything like that, I could move things and get them adjusted and lined up right where I wanted them to be. Okay, so let's see what to talk about next. The wheel, the OSW. It's a small Midge OSW, and initially, this is the wheel that I built first. Let me pull this off of here. Incidentally, these little hooks here, you can just get at a hardware store. And just one of the great things about 80/20 is that you've got your slots and your T-nuts, and it's just very easy to bolt pretty much anything you want to it. Those make great holders for my wheels. And you'll see that on the other side here, I've got one for the headphones as well. So pretty convenient to do that. So let me put this on the desk. So this is what I built first. This is a Bluetooth-based wheel. It's using the Fanatec Universal Hub. And let me flip it over here. So the internals are rewired with Bluetooth, and it's using a what's it called? A Teensy LC, I believe it is. It's a keyboard emulator that basically remaps the buttons to be used as keyboard keys. And so basically when you map it up in the sim, you're just mapping keyboard keys to be used. You can see the quick release that's on there, which is the Q1R quick release. Pretty common, popular, very solid, very reliable quick release. So that allows me to quickly swap out between this wheel and the other one if I need to, but also to quickly pop them off when I'm not using it for racing. Is very nice to be able to do that. So definitely highly recommend that. All you got to do is obviously pop that off and just lift it out and you're good to go. And it's very solid, so very solid connection. Other than that, this is a Momo 320 millimeter rim, suede, very nice feel to it. Although once I went to the Fanatic Formula rim, which is converted to just regular USB, I haven't really gone back, and this is what I use for everything now. I just love the feel of it. I actually like the smaller diameter. I think it's 280 millimeter or 28 centimeter diameter. And one complaint that I actually have with this wheel is that the area here where you kind of grip it with your thumbs is a little narrow, and you can kind of get your thumb in an awkward position that you could almost strain it or sprain it a little bit if you got it caught in there. And you really, I guess, shouldn't hold it that way. You should maybe have your thumb out. But that wasn't real comfortable for long periods of racing where I'd kind of feel kind of a strain in my thumb. And the other nice thing about the Formula rim is that it doesn't obscure your vision because it's shorter. It doesn't have, and of course, I could cut this, and I'm tempted to do that just to cut the top to prevent that from obstructing vision there. But it's a nice, comfortable rim. Bluetooth is awesome. It's nice not to have cables, and it was always responsive. It was never delayed in any way to use it. So I definitely like the Bluetooth aspect to it, but it doesn't have the Fana LEDs for the lights. It doesn't have the as many buttons and controls. And so let me actually pull this off just to talk about this a little bit in case it hasn't been used. I want to talk about the USB on this thing too. So let's talk about the USB first. So for the USB, the issue that I had, and I don't like having a USB cable, but initially they were shorting out on me. I actually went through 2 or 3 of them where there was just repetitive strain right here where the cable connects to the rim, and it was shorting out on me. And I don't think I had the greatest quality of cable to begin with. But just over time, it eventually, after running a lot of laps, it just eventually kind of wore through and started to short out. And so as a solution to that, what I did was I got this microphone extension and just wired to this. Let me just kind of pull that off. Soldered wires to it, and this allows me to quickly swap it out in case it does develop a short. I can have a spare on hand, and you got to have a spare on hand for everything. If something goes out and you're getting ready to race, you got to be able to have a backup. And so I can back that up. And of course, I have a separate wheel, or I can even run this without the USB. The USB really just gives me access to buttons and things like that, and you can get away with it. At least in the Camel GT series, where I'm not using paddle shifters or anything, I can just use this for steering. But in the event that this does go out, I can very quickly swap that out. Make sure I get that threaded on. And it's a nice connection. These actually have also improved, I think, the reliability in the cable. The way that connects in there, and I've got some extra tape wrapped around it to kind of help protect the cable. This one hasn't gone out yet once, and so I haven't even had to replace it with a backup, but like I say, it gives me that option in case I want to. I put some spacers on it just to get a little bit closer. So instead of buying like a separate spacer for the shaft of the motor itself, I just added my own spacer onto the back of the rim here to the quick release to get it a little bit closer to where I like it. And it ends up being, putting these side by side, I don't know, putting those side by side roughly a little bit closer to where this one has a lot of space just with the button the button box section of it that I just like it to be a little bit closer, and so that was pretty easy to do that. So great rim. I like with the Fanatic and the buttons and controls, you've got what do you call it? A kind of a rotary type of control here, where you can kind of rotate this. Brake bias is what I usually have that mapped to. I can very quickly shift that forward or back a few clicks if I want to in the middle of a race. It's very convenient to have. You've got more buttons and controls, but you've also got I use these for my black box controls for up and down, left and right, and that's also a push button. So the LEDs for shifting and for showing gear, just love it. I even ordered a couple of extra grips for it, so that as these kind of get worn, these are just kind of a cheap Alcantara, I can just pull those off and throw another set of grips on. I think they sell them for like $20 if you want to order some spares, but I just had a couple of them ordered just in case I had a need to swap those out at some point. Transducers. I'm running the SimVibe in what's it called? Chassis mode. So 2 front, 2 back. So these are the transducers that I'm using up front. And so let me come around here and show you the way I've got those mounted. So you can see, maybe not too well right there, I've got some countersunk screws. Get a better angle of that. You can see one of them right here and another one there. And those basically are where my transducers are mounted, right below my feet. And so those kind of fire upward at my feet. And so it helps me to feel the transducers at the front end. And then I also have the 2 underneath the seat that you can't see, but they're mounted to the rear post of where the seat rests. And that way they fire upward toward the seat, and I can feel those pretty good. Another improvement with the seat is that it would actually be nice to have a seat where you could actually mount the transducers to the seat directly to get an even better, closer feel for them, because they do get the detail can get lost just a bit here going through, all the cushion of the seat and whatnot. So that's something that could be improved and planned for as far as SimVibe goes. Sorry for the lighting, by the way. I know it's kind of dark. The Fanatic H-pattern shifter, absolutely love it. The more I use it, the more comfortable I get with it, the more I love it, and it's been reliable and worked fantastic. I even tried, just to kind of experiment, pulling the knob off and putting a couple of other knobs on, and ended up just going back to the stock knob. So you can see there's like a Hurst T-handle. There's this other kind of smaller ball shifter there that I tried out, and I just ended up going back to the original because I like the way it feels, and there was really no reason to change it. I just wanted to try it out, but I love that shifter for H-pattern. It's got a tension adjustment. You can put an Allen wrench there to the left side there to increase or decrease the tension that it takes to push it into gear and get that adjusted just how you like it. But very solid and very dependable. Works great. I've got a cup holder. You definitely got to have a cup holder to stay hydrated there. This was just a cup holder that I found on Amazon, and it's pretty large. So depending on the size of your drink, whether it's a bottle or a can or like a water container, I can either use the default cup, or I can actually drop in this padding for like a can or bottle, or even this one, drop it in there upside down, depending on the shape of whatever beverage is being used there. And so that's a must. You got to have that. Let's see, the floor plate, that's just a 1/4 inch piece of aluminum that's mounted there. Just using a couple of brackets underneath there. The piece of wood on the front there is just kind of like a what's it called? Molding, floor molding piece that I've got on like some permanent 3M double stick. So that's kind of permanent mounted there. It's not coming off easily at all, but it gives it a nice kind of a smooth feel instead of the rough edge of the aluminum there. Definitely more comfortable just to kind of rest your feet on that and not get caught on it. The shoes I use, those are the Sparco S. I like to keep those just adjusted to slip on and off easily. In and out of the rig so often that I like to be able to just quickly slip things on and off. Same thing goes for the gloves. These are the Sparco KG3. These are carding gloves. No Velcro. I don't like Velcro on gloves. Again, I like to be able to just have a nice comfortable fit, be able to slip things on and off quickly. And I definitely love both the gloves and the shoes there. When you're driving a lot, and for long stints, you're going to prevent, blisters and pain and whatnot by having a good pair of gloves and shoes. So, and with these pedals that I'm using, the PT1s, I couldn't imagine driving for extended periods of time with the amount of pressure on the brake and not causing issues with your feet over time. So, shoes and gloves are the way to go for me anyway. Incidentally, my older pedals, my older Fanatic pedals, I just raced in socks. It was fine, but for these, I had to go with something a little bit better. So there's a quick overview. Actually, one other quick thing on the monitors. I actually have a tablet mounted up here. This is what I run for timing, JART, for fuel. All I did was I got this tablet holder, and you can see I've got that connected to a piece of profile and an angle mount so that I can adjust that and move that around. And that's just an iPad that connects up to JRT so that I can get all the timing information that I need up at a glance right above me. Instead of having to mount a fourth monitor, that worked out great for that purpose. You can see my center monitor is de-bezeled. What that does is, let me shake the mouse here, get the screens back on. What that does is that just reduces the gap in between the center and the side monitors. And so with the bezel pulled off the middle, you can see the side monitors are tucked in a little bit, so the bezels overlap there, and just cuts down a little bit on the amount of gap or space that you have between there. So that's de-bezeled for that reason. It's pretty ugly from the back, but when are you ever really looking at the back of your monitors? But you can see how that looks de-bezeled. That little white switch over there, that's just a wireless switch to my amplifiers. So the amps that I have over here on my desk that I run for the SimVive, the transducers, two for the front, one for the front pair and one for the back pair. And that way I can kind of quickly turn things on and off from that little wireless switch there. What else is there to say? I mean, I started to build kind of a little bit of a button box that I'm probably going to scrap it and restart it. I was going to wire up and put some buttons there in that. You can see where I've got my my e-stop for the OSW and the power switch, and then the USB. I like the placement of the USB. That's another thing to kind of keep in mind, is that where you've got your cable going and where the wheel kind of wraps. Maybe just let me show you what I mean here, because I think this helps maybe with the wear, and also how long the cable might last. But I'll sit down real quick and show you. All right, so this plugs in here, and if I can get a better angle here, what you can see is that as the wheel is going to turn, it's going to just kind of wrap around the center. It's not going to get caught on anything, and it allows the wheel to move fully in either direction. And this cable, and I hate to have a cable, but it's not dangling down. It's not hitting anything. It's not in the way of anything, and that seems to work out well, at least where I've got that. You want a little bit of slack in it so that there's not constant strain on the cable, which can obviously lead to shorts and things, but getting that plugged in at a point where it's going to last and not be a nuisance is kind of important too. All right, so I don't know what else there is to say. That's just kind of a quick look at everything that I'm running here, and post any questions you have down in the comments, and if I can send any details about any of the components I'm using, I definitely will do that. Talk to y'all later.